Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the community podcast. My name is Chase Johnston Lynch here at Big Condo Online. Please like and subscribe or ring the bell, and also feel free to comment in the chat. Because I endeavor to bring you interesting people from the community, and hear their story. And this was an amazing story that I've heard today. And so, what I want to do is introduce you to my guest. I'm joined here by Julie Simpson of Autism Adventures CIC.
Hi.
Hi,
You
Julie.
okay?
Julie's a little bit nervous, so we'll understand that. But I mean, Julie is one of those champions in the community that are doing something really powerful, and I think you will really enjoy hearing Julie's story. So we're gonna start a little bit personal here. Julie, you started out as an office manager in Speak.
Yeah. I worked in Speak in an office, a small business, and I had no business qualifications whatsoever. My son was born in 2004. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. And for the first, I'd say, 4 years of his life, we didn't go out. We sort of hid away because we got his diagnosis. The lady who gave us the diagnosis was probably the most unhelpful person you could get a diagnosis of. It was 4:45 when she gave us the diagnosis, and she said, I said, "Oh, can I just ask you a few questions because I've been on the internet and had a look?" And she went, "Let me stop you there." She went, "I don't go home and troll the internet about autism. I go home and have a glass of wine." She went, "And it's 4:45 now, so can you move along?"
Oh my God!
And that's how we
Well,
got
first
his
of all, what year was
diagnosis.
this? Because I think that's important.
That would have been 2007.
Right. Now, reason why I say I think this is important because autism, it's been a journey for people understanding autism. Creating terms like SEN and the autistic spectrum and all of that, and it's changed a lot over the years. But you're talking about an earlier period of time and everything, and one of the examples you gave was kind of like with your son Joe, right? Is that he didn't really like Christmas.
No. When he was little, we've got no photographs or videos of Joe when he was little. He was born on New Year's Day, so we thought, Christmas was going to be boss in our house.
Baby New Year.
It was like, for the first couple of years, he didn't understand Christmas, but he was only a baby. But as he got older, like 4 and 5, and there's a few of my friends who've got kids all the same age as Joe, and their kids would all be out on the bikes and these all be dead excited for Christmas, and Joe just totally dismissed Christmas. He just didn't understand it, didn't want to engage in it. We'd get him as presents, put them all out, and he'd just come in, put the CBeebies on, and every year I hated Christmas because it was always like I wasn't doing enough for him, he should be liking it. And he had a play therapist, and she said, "Stop buying him toys. He can't cope with it, you're overloading him." So she said, "You can buy him 4 things." So he was like one of those Salvation Army adverts where this child will wake up to nothing on Christmas Day, and it wasn't because we didn't buy him nothing, we were told we couldn't. And we used to get visual aids of what he'd got, and I used to download a picture of it and put it on the outside of the door, so when he got come down the stairs on Christmas morning, he's seen what he had before he went in, so there was no big surprise elements. And we had to really do it on the lowdown, which I just took ages to get used to, because you want to just have the best Christmas ever. And he started then to sort of like it a bit better, and as he got a bit older, when he was about 10, we started working with Dobbies doing the Silent Santa, so they could access the grotto, but on a lower level, and it was less intrusive. And that's when he started engaging with Christmas. And
so we'll get to that, because we wanted to building a story here about the journey, because Joe's journey is a fascinating one. Because also too is like when you talk about like toys and dolls, he had a favorite one, didn't he? Which was kind of like from Ben and Holly, that Ben and Holly cartoon, and that led to this experience in a local shop.
It's all Holly's fault. So
it's all Holly's fault. I never liked Holly. Yeah, go ahead.
Holly was his communicator. He had a doll from Ben and Holly, and even though he was like 11, he was still only like a 4-year-old in his mind. So if he was upset, Holly would get turned upside down. If he was happy, Holly would be dancing. That's how he communicated his emotions with us. And we went to town one day and he lost Holly in town.
Wow.
So it was like the end of his world. And we retraced our steps and I went into one of the stores. I won't name the store.
Yeah, let's not name the store.
And I asked the girl behind the counter, has anyone handed a Holly doll in? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, can you just go and have a look, please? Have a look if it's been put in there. And she was like, no, it hasn't. And I could hear Joe. I was on the phone to my husband. He was in the car with Joe. Joe was screaming. And, you know, he'd gone online at Smith's and on another toy store and ordered another one. So we were getting another one, but Joe knew it wasn't his. Joe was hysterical because he'd lost Holly. So we'd been working with the local council as well, because we'd been sending loads of letters to who was the health chief he was the health minister at the time.
Now this is the bit that I think is important, because you're a mom who is just only trying to support her son. You know, you've had some kind of like rude encounters and everything, but like you've done something that other people probably would not have done, and I think this is important. I didn't want to just shave over it. So you started to like do what people say. I'm going to contact my local health minister, or I'm going to contact someone.
Yeah.
So now tell me the story about these letters. Before
he'd lost Holly, he was diagnosed with autism. There was nothing available. All the services that we were given from this woman who threw us out at 4:45 were all out of date. There was nothing available. So at the time, Andy Burnham was the health minister when Labour were in Parliament. So I was writing to him saying, you know, these things need to change. You need to do more for autistic people. And he never replied to any of the letters, and I wrote another one and another one and another one, and never replied. And then he put a tweet on, and my husband seen the tweet, and he said, obviously Labour had come out of Parliament then and the Conservatives were in, but he was still the shadow health secretary, and he put a tweet on and it said, my husband tweeted back and said, you don't even reply to people when they write to you. And he sent a message straight away from his secretary and said, you know, what happened, how, you know, what's gone on that we didn't reply. So he invited me to his constituency in Leigh, and I mean, I've met quite a few politicians and they all talk the talk, but no one does nothing. But I can honestly say he was like the real deal. He was like, okay, well, what can I do to help you? And he promised me he'd take me to Parliament, and I thought, whatever.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't see, you go so fast. And I'm just an office worker from Speak. You know, I'm trying to help my son. Well, okay, still, I'm an office worker for Speak. I'm trying to help my son. I'm sending letters because I'm concerned. And then you're going to invite me to Parliament. What was that like, first of all, to be invited? What was the feeling that went through you?
Oh, it was just, everyone was laughing at me saying, oh my God, imagine you going to Parliament, because I do talk quite fast. And we went out to take Joe with us, so we all had to go in the car. We had to stay overnight because we had no one to mind Joe. So while I was at Parliament at this autism seminar, Joe was on the open top bus with my husband driving around London, and there was all these like MPs there and that. So I remember when we went in, I had to go into Andy Burnham's office, and I took my GHDs with me. I was straightening my hair because I was like, oh, what my hair to be nice, and he was just like laughing his head off at me. But no, he has been a real big support. Everything he said he's done for us. He's you know, he's our patron now. He's the patron of our organisation.
But wait a minute. So you must have impressed these parliamentary people, though, right? Because remember, in the time, I think you said this is around 2015.
Yeah, that was 2015. So
I mean, so again, you know, you're putting something into people's face by giving them your personal experience, right? And they want to like put it onto the agenda, isn't this right?
Yeah, well, to be honest, the people in Parliament didn't really do nothing. They just sort of like, you know, the way they say, oh, well, we've got no funds, and everything's always about funds, and isn't it? So they didn't help us. But because I was in touch with him, he got me in touch with the council, and when that thing happened with Holly, they'd put me in touch. I said, you need to go to Chamber of Commerce, and you need to get the Chamber of Commerce to start training the staff in the shops. I thought the Chamber of Commerce run all the shops, but obviously they don't. But they got me a meeting with this woman at the Chamber of Commerce. And
Is this Jenny Stewart?
And I didn't know, but she was the chief executive of the Chamber of Commerce. So I told her my story, and she went, well, I'm going to put you on this program called Spark Up. And she put me on that program, and that was like the catalyst then for everything that we've done.
Right. So, I mean, so the Spark Up project, you know, like is one of those startups that they usually do for like entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs, isn't it? And everything. And now you have to perform and everything. And someone says, so, you know, all you have to just do is an elevator pitch. So do I have to go into an elevator? Tell that story, please.
So Charles Ozzie was the person who did this, the pitching. We had to, what happened was there was a competition, a pitching competition. So course, everyone had to pitch the business, and they had like rounds. So
how many people do you think?
I think there was about 30 of us on the on that cohort, and then you got eliminated from each round.
Exactly.
But every week they train you. So they said you're going to do an elevator pitch. So I mean, these were all people who were trying to set up businesses or had set them up, and I was like, I don't want a business, I just want to make Liverpool autism friendly. And Jenny Stewart was just like, on this course. So when they said you've got to do an elevator pitch, I used to go in the lift and practice my pitch, going up and down in this lift, and they were just all laughing at me, going, no, that's not
that's not an elevator pitch, no.
But you went through all the stages, I got through all the stages, and then they said the final was in the Anglican Cathedral.
Now, wait a minute. It's just down to 4 people now, right?
Yeah, so there was 4 of us left.
Wait a minute. 30 to 4. You keep rushing through your story. I'm sorry if I'm stopping you, but it's important for people to catch up. So you're 30 down to 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we all went to I think there was 400 people at the Chamber of Commerce.
It's a big gala dinner, isn't it?
So it was all black tie. It was amazing. We all got dressed up.
Ooh.
And they were all my mates who I was pitching with. So we weren't nervous because we were all mates, and I was thinking, I'm not going to win anyway. It doesn't matter. My husband was dead nervous for me, but it was like a really great experience. And then we had to do this pitch. So we had like 2 minutes, and then they cut your mic. So I'd rehearsed it and rehearsed it and rehearsed it.
That must have been nerve-wracking.
So do you know what? It wasn't, because everyone was like, oh, weren't you scared? But I was thinking, well, no, because I need to get this message out about autism. And getting told your son's got autism, they said he may never speak. They said he'll never live independently. They didn't paint a very good picture of his outcome moving forward. So when that happened to you, I thought, I'm not even bothered, because, you know, you can't do no worse to me.
Exactly. You had right on your side.
So I just pitched.
So you pitched this autism-friendly project called Autism Adventures.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
And you won.
We won. So the prize was £5,000.
Woohoo! $5K. First of all, don't you want to go?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was just the best night ever. It was really good. I remember one of the people who was there bought us a bottle of Bollinger, and we were just all like made up. It was. That's what started the journey, really made it real, because before that we'd just been doing, like, you know, telling people about autism, trying to make people autism aware, but, you know, it was really just family and friends we were doing it to, and that really, like, was the catalyst. Without Jenny Stewart, we wouldn't have been able to do that. No,
exactly. So not only now are you delivering these, like, you know, hour workshops to companies, to people who were interested in becoming more autism friendly. One of those experiences that you shared, which I thought was pretty interesting, was like you actually got to share this with a Disney production of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, well, that was this year. We went to at the Liverpool Empire at the production of Beauty and the Beast, and they contacted me and said, would we work with them to do a relaxed performance? Wow. So I had to go to Bristol and see the performance there, and then make notes, you know, how it could be adjusted. And then we came back up to Liverpool, and we had a meeting with the Empire and someone from Disney, and went through, you know, what we recommended, and they did the relaxed performance in Liverpool. And the things that we'd said, you know, needed to be put in place, they took on board, and they actually did that. So that was really cool.
It's amazing, because just give us a little taste. I mean, autism friendly, right? So with that showcase, it was lights, sound, you know, like the Beast was in the costume and letting the young people know that I'm actually, you know, Bob.
They came out before, so a lot of people think autism friendly. To be autism friendly, you just need to lower the lights and lower the music, and it's a lot more than that. It's having that understanding what the people are feeling. So, you know, they needed space to be able to go out. My son watched it from the doorway. He didn't even get into the theatre. He had his ear defenders on and he watched it from the doorway, and that was okay. They let him do that. They had a safe space where people could go if they couldn't cope with it. They do need to lower the lights. They did lower the music because the music was quite powerful, because obviously it's, you know, a musical, but they lowered it down. The actors came on the stage beforehand and introduced themselves, so the Beast didn't have, you know, was a mask on and that, so the kids and the adults, because everyone always thinks that autistic people are kids and they grow up to be adults. And
this is true, yeah.
a lot of the time people will be a lot more you know, passive, and there'll be a lot more understanding to children with autism. But when you've got, like, my son's 18 on New Year's Day, he's 5'10", people are a lot different how they view him than how they viewed him when he was 7. So it's getting that understanding across. So there's a lot more to being autism friendly than just turning your music down and lowering the lights, because I always say to them, if they have a meltdown, what would you do? How would you deal with that? So I always make sure wherever we go, if we're delivering a session for kids, I always train the staff first, so the staff aren't frightened, they're confident, and they can understand how they're feeling, and they can put things in place to make that experience for our kids as good as it would be if they were neurotypical.
Yeah. Now, just like you're just saying, first of all, you're working with kids 5 to 16, but you're considering raising the age now. But beyond that, you've been delivering programs, after school programs, right? You know, you're looking at activities as well for these young people. So like trampolining, karate, football, boxing. You've had support from various different groups like Everton in the Community, right, and everything else like that. I mean, this is growing from strength to strength, would you say?
Yeah, it has. It's took on a life of its own. From what we started out at, my sister always used to laugh at me and say, "You've got a bag of pen."
Your sister does a lot of laughing at you.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
So, because we just started out with nothing, and we didn't expect, you know, we didn't expect to be a business. We just thought we'd do stuff for Joe, but we're a community interest company now, and we're supporting families, but the whole family. So we're doing workshops for parents, we're doing activities for the kids, but the siblings can come to them. But each year we learn, and like I've had to learn. This has been a learning curve for me. I wasn't a business person, and we've had to grow with it. And the kids dictate what we want to do. Like he was saying, oh, you know, we don't want to do this. They wanted to do the football. We've done forest school for years with them, and they absolutely love the forest school.
Just the kayaking and Mersey.
Yeah. Well, we started that this year, last year after the pandemic, because the pandemic just turns everything on its head. You know, all the things we had planned, all the activities we were doing. We had quite a few fundraising events we were going to be doing, and it just all went the day he closed us down. And, you know, our kids really struggled with that, because some of the kids thrived in lockdown because it was what they wanted. They wanted to be, you know, in a safe environment where they didn't have to go to school, they didn't have to get on buses and that. Some of the kids really, really struggled with it, and they didn't understand what had happened. And like for my son was like really engaged in all his activities. He was used to being out all the time, and then he couldn't understand what lockdown meant, so I had to tell him there was germ monsters in the sky, because my son's only operating at a 6-year-old, and he was 16 at the time. So we had to break it down and let him understand it. And he always used to go up to people and he'd want to shake their hands, and he'd say 2 circles on my hands. It's a sensory need for him. And to say to him, you can't touch no one, you know, you've got to wear a mask and you can't go outside the door. How do you say that to someone who's got a mental capacity of a, you know, a 4 to 6-year-old? So Piers Morgan was on GMB and he said, oh, we can't shake hands no more. And he absolutely loves Piers Morgan. So I paused it, brought him in.
Piers has a fan.
Joe loved Piers. He's devastated he's gone. And I rewound it because he's got something called PTA, which stands for Pathological Demand Avoidance, and they challenge authority. So you can't say to them, don't do that. You'd have to say, would you like to do that now, or would you like to do it later? You'd have to work around it, so you'd have to negotiate everything with them. So rather than me saying you can't go up and touch anyone anymore, touch anyone's hands or shake hands, I said, Joe Pierce has been on, listen what's happened. And I said, look, he said it wasn't me. Pierce has said, so you can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's how we got round him not doing it. But he did cope really well with the first lockdown because it was summer, everyone was off work, they were all furloughed. So we live in a green, a cul-de-sac, and all the people in the green were out. So everyone was, you know, in their own gardens, in our own spaces, and he loved that. He was able to speak to everyone. He didn't go outside the gate.
Nice.
And he didn't really struggle with his mental health, but the last lockdown after Christmas, that just really, really affected him.
Well,
so that's why we did the Blue Health.
But then also too is that, like, with that, you know, and asking you about the pandemic, is that you still wanted to support your community, and you were still helping people who were furloughed. You were being able to provide like sports gifts and food vouchers.
Yeah.
I mean, which was probably like supported and all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, a lot of our families had been furloughed, so, you know, they'd never accessed benefits before. If you remember, you couldn't even get through on the universal credit line, and these people had just been, you know, throughout a week. You know, every single person's life was turned upside down, and a lot of our kids have very, very limited diet. So even if they could access a food bank, probably the food that was available, they wouldn't have been able to give their kids. Like my son, who needs 5 things in the whole world. So, you know, it's no good sending our kids to the food bank, because although people mean well giving you a bag of shopping, to our kids, they wouldn't have ate it. So we got funding from the it was the city region funding, and we were able to give, like, families who were struggling with autism, we were able to give them vouchers so they didn't have to go to the food bank. They could access it through that. And one of our people who we work with in the karate club, he donated some sports equipment to us, so we were able to give every family a bag of outdoor sports equipment, so bats, balls, things like that. So, because if you remember, you could only go to the park for an hour. Some of our families were living in flats or didn't have gardens, so I was worried about how, you know, they couldn't just go and stand on the trampoline or, you know, go and sit in the garden. So we were able to give them that. So it was only really small things what we did, but, you know, we were putting a bit of stuff online for them. So we had our football coaches did a few activities online, because no one knew about to Zoom then, and you know, we can all Zoom now, but at the time we didn't. So we were doing stuff like that to try and support them.
Well, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, as the young people are getting older, you know, you're constantly moving with change, because you started offering employability courses to the young people, but instead of them being interviewed, you had them interviewing other people, some celebrities as well. I mean, you mentioned Tony Morris, good friend of mine.
He was amazing. Joe loves him. Yeah, he still loves him now, and he went to Granada Reports and he interviewed Tony Morris there.
That's great. I mean, Tony, he is always there for. He has always been there for the community and stuff.
It was just so sad what happened to him, but he really did it. So that was what we wanted to do as they were getting older. We've moved with them, so as their needs have changed, we've had to adapt. So we wanted to show that our kids are employable, you know, that they're worth a lot more than a label of autism. So we had one of the girls who was with our group. She went and interviewed Andy Burnham. We had some of the lads go and interview the Chief Constable in Merseyside Police. And Joe went to interview Tony Morris. We had them asking questions, you know, to businesses. So when we went out to businesses to train them, we'd give these questions to them. And we also wanted it to be relevant. So when they were going on days out, we just didn't want to take them on a day out. We wanted it to have some purpose. So during the summer activities that we did rookie lifeguard for them. So we trained up the leisure centre, all their staff, and then our kids went and they did the rookie lifeguard. So they're all like got certificates now to be, you know, lifeguards. They've got that skill.
It's just amazing.
You know, when we did the karate belts, they moved up, they've got the belt. So, you know, they've done Duke of Edinburgh with the karate. So, you know, we've tried to make it that when they go for job interviews, they can say, well, I've done this, I've done that. So like with the blue water, they've all learned that. The ones who were engaged in that have, done kayaking. So, and we will be doing that again once the weather gets a bit better.
Yeah.
So we just try to make it where there's a purpose to it. So we are looking now to employability because obviously the kids are getting older.
True.
So we need to move with them.
So what do you want to do from here? You was mentioning this personal project of yours about a village.
Oh, the village, yeah.
The village,
So
not the movie.
Village. So it sounds a bit melodramatic and it sounds a bit, miserable. But obviously one day me and his dad aren't going to be here. Me and Joe's dad will pass on and he'll be on his own. And the thing that terrifies me, and it probably terrifies anyone who's got kids with special needs, is what happens when we're not here.
Yeah.
Joe's okay while I'm here because I'll always advocate for him and I'll advocate for all the other kids. But one day I won't be, and where's he going to go?
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me awake at night. So I thought, well, if we had our own place, they could go and they could work there, they could spend time there, even if it was small projects like doing car washing and things like that Joe would be able to do. But, it's like a purpose for them. These have somewhere to go once they left school. And then also we want to make it into a residential. So when the time comes that they are older and they do move, they'll move into it and we'll know they're safe, because most people, they think the kids are going to grow up, they're going to go to college or university, they get married, they have their own kids, and then, you're happy, you just want your kids to be settled. My husband's other kids, he's got 3 other kids, they're all settled, with their partners and that, and they've got their own kids. But Joe's going to be on his own, so we wanted to create that community where when anything did happen to us, they probably wouldn't be bothered because they're in their community.
I think this is also like one of those things, like where other parents out there with autistic children, this is kind of like a fear, isn't it? Like, what happens when my child becomes 18?
Yeah.
And because you mentioned before about CAMS, it's like CAMS lets you go when you get to an adult age and stuff, or you have to go to a different version of it and everything.
Yeah.
So this sounds like a really interesting project to be supported and stuff like that. It's like a dream project, would you say?
Yeah, well, we've got an architect who we're working with, and
Nice.
he's absolutely amazing, and he's entered it into the competition for Not Built Yet, and it's it's been accepted through the first stage. So
First stage. You know what? Don't stop this woman.
everyone always says, "Oh, shut up, you in your village," because I go on.
Shut up, you
in
in your village. I love that.
But it's got to be done because these kids are going to grow up. It's not like
of course. I mean, like I said, my son just turned 18, so I mean, like it is a thing that people think about. I had to also just reveal this because it's like, when you started out with young Joe not liking Christmas, how does he feel about Christmas now?
Oh, he loves it. He starts Christmas about September. We have to rein him in now and say we'll talk about Christmas
one day
in November.
Okay, maybe a month, but
no, it does last a full month in ours. And he has his. He was there on Sunday, as soon as we're down, and he has all his Christmas songs on, and they were saying, "It's not Christmas yet, Joe," and he was going, "No, I'll put them on the 1st of December."
Yeah.
So he has really embraced it, but he's still not very, materialistic. He doesn't really ask for presents. He loves everyone being there. He loves all his family being around
Nice
him,
one.
and he loves all that celebration of Christmas. So it's nice to see it because he's so innocent. He's got he's got no side to him. He doesn't.
No, I can imagine.
Ask for presents and things like that.
I could imagine, and so I mean. Lastly, you were mentioning you have a new project. I don't know if you could tell us about it or,
Yeah, it's only, it's only just started because obviously since the pandemic, people with everyone's mental health being affected, but people with autism, their mental health has really, really been affected. And because they can't read the signals, social signals like neurotypical people can, and I have been trying to get in touch with all these advocates for mental health who are on the TV at the moment. There's quite a few celebrities who are doing work, and they're doing amazing work around it. But they keep using phrases like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You need to talk. And my argument is always, what about our kids who are non-verbal?
Yeah.
What about our kids who don't understand how they're feeling emotionally? They can't convey how their emotions are because they don't know how they are. They don't understand them. They struggle with, that's the whole thing of autism. They struggle with social situations. So we have had funds in the past, and it's been small funds and bits, and we've been really grateful for them, but we've never got to a level where we've got something that's got a bit of longevity to it. And 3 weeks ago, we'd applied for funds, and I didn't even think I'd get it, but I applied for it.
I knew you got it. No, I'm kidding.
And we did get the funds, and we have been able to put a programme in place. It's only just starting now, but it's going to be an online. So
like a digital program.
It's a digital programme, yeah. So it's going to be about the digital mind. So we'll be able to put YouTube programmes on, and it'll be things like talk and dice. So it'll give them tools for how that they can communicate. It'll give them emotion cards, so it can tell them, you don't have to tell me how you feel and point to it. It'll give them their own little toolbox of strategies that they can use, and they don't have to be, part of our group. They can go online. They can access it. There's kids who are in our group who won't come out no more. That's why we did it. We will be doing walking, because walking is one of the best forms of, to help your mental health and physical health. So we are going to be going up Movammet. We're going to be going to Betty Coward and doing the walks in Snowdon. So we've got all that, and we are going to be going back to the kayaking, because that really, just makes you feel calm.
Well, I got to say, though, I mean, with this project, it sounds like it came at the right time, especially for Joe, because, as you said, that Joe, for a long time, has been editing.
Yeah.
He's been making his own little videos.
Joe loves to use
And
his computer.
I got to let you know, I mean, don't act like a teacher. I got to let you know that editing is actually a really good job. It's really good. It's a really good skill set, and it's a really good job. So, I mean, hopefully with this project, he can help you out, and it's like, whoa, that'd be amazing.
He'll be teaching me.
He will be teaching you. Can you imagine that?
Well, he's taught me since he was born, because, without Joe, we wouldn't be doing this.
Well, last thing is the campaign that you're running, the Flag Up Autism. And everything. Can anybody participate in that? Or?
Yeah, we do that every April. So what we do is we wanted to make it a positive stance. So we wanted to do something positive. So that's why we're called Autism Adventures, because we want it to be an adventure rather than, it's not a trial to be Joe's mum. It's a pleasure, and we want to take him on as many adventures as possible. So the Flag Up Autism, we get flags made every year, and people can get the flags from various places. We put them out in April. But when you get your flag, you'd have to pass your flag on to someone else. That's the thing of the Flag Up Autism. You're raising awareness of it. But we want you to tell someone a fact about autism, because there's loads of myths about autism. People think that, they don't make eye contact. People think that if you're autistic, you don't want friends. And people with autism do want friends. And people can make eye contact. Sometimes they choose not to. But people need to know what the facts are rather than the myths. And sometimes you see things portrayed on social media, and you see people portray autism in very stereotypical ways. And, the kids who come to our group, every one of them has got their own personality, just like everyone in the neurotypical world has. And I couldn't mind someone's child with autism until they give me all the information about them, just like they couldn't mind Joe, because they've all got their own needs. That's why it's a spectrum. So we want that to be got out there, but we want them to see the positive side of it. So we try and get as many celebrities as we can to get the flag. So we've sent them to Jamie Carragher, and he's always obliged and always got a picture took.
Send one to Duncan Ferguson.
Ferguson, right here.
That's your favorite, isn't it?
He's always, he gets his picture took.
Right.
We've had quite
you can send one to me. You can send one to me.
You can have one, you'll get the flag.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Listen, Julie, this has been amazing, because, as I said, I think everybody has some shape or form of experience that you've been talking about, and what your organization has been doing over the past, 7 years. Has just been phenomenal. And it's good to hear about such an organization, but also it's good to hear about such a person like yourself, who is a true champion and everything, into not just her own son, but into other people's children as well. So I want to thank you for joining me here on the Community Podcast.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh, no, definitely. This has been Julie Simpson from Autism Adventures. No, social media, where can people find you? Can they find anything that's happening on social media for Autism Adventures?
Yeah, we've got a Facebook page. We have got a website, but it's getting rebuilt because of this new project that we're doing. So that will be going live in a couple of weeks.
So it's Autism Adventures CIC or what?
Yeah, Autism Adventures Training CIC.
Autism Adventures Training CIC.
CIC, yeah.
And everything. And so you can follow that. No Insta?
We've got Instagram and that yet. They'll all...
You got to say all platforms.
I don't even know what our one is for the name. Instagram. We'll call Flag Up Autism on Twitter. We don't really put nothing on Instagram, to be honest.
Well, never too late to try and stuff. But either way, I want to just thank you once again, Julie Simpson. I'm your host, Chase Johnson Lynch. You've been listening to and watching the community podcast here on Big Condo Online. And you know what? We're out of here.
Thank you.
That was really good.
Thank you.
I'm so fantastic. And how did I get around all of that?
I know.